I want to talk once more about the Flash, how it went or how it goes, what how you should understand the decision making behind the film. Because of course, if anyone predicted it bringing in even a modest amount of money, is in conflict with the reality. It is first thing is you should understand this is part of a franchise with a lot of previous installments, and this franchise is on shaky grounds. It didn't go particularly well. It's not like MCU Phase 1, 2, 3. It's a whole other thing. But what were the latest installments? Just run through them, okay? So they had some success with Shazam. That was maybe the latest. We can all agree it was a success. Then came the Birds of Prey. It didn't go well. Then Wonder Woman 1984, which was a flop. Then they brought back Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. That gave some hope, but of course, it wasn't exactly the best PR, but it gave hope. Then came The Suicide Squad, which was modest. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything, but wasn't terribly bad. Then came Black Adam, which went down the Flash. Sorry for the pun. And then came Shazam, which again didn't land well. And then came this movie. Now, The Flash of 2023, really, you needed a subtitle, a secondary title, is, well, it's not a Flash movie. If you watch just the beginning portion, like the first half an hour, maybe 20 minutes, you realize this is not a Flash movie. This is a Justice League movie. And considering what they've already shot, and they cancelled a lot of productions, even what was produced, finalized, so it was ready to release, like Batwoman. They needed something to have a franchise at all for the future. So this movie wasn't made to cash on the Flash or on the franchise even, but when was Justice League made? 2017, and the Zack Snyder cut came out of 2021. This is 2023, and there came out a lot of all the movies I listed, most of which were flops. So if Warner wants a DCEU franchise in the future, they needed a Justice League movie right now. And they didn't want to go with the Zack Snyder's movieverse, I guess because of copyright reasons and all that jazz. So they still needed to establish something they have, and they showed you they have Henry Cavill's Superman, they have Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and not much else. They didn't delete characters like Aquaman. Oh yeah, they still have uh, Jason Momoa's Aquaman on some degree. They didn't delete Cyborg, but he's missing from the movie aside maybe, just aside the brand recognition. So if they don't want to work with the character, they can just forget about it. And they have Ezra Miller. Now, here is an important thing to consider. They released what the previous versions of the scripts, and they released, we know, because we see in the movie, the finalized versions of the script. And the finalized version, we know, were influenced, demanded by the new management, because there was a management change. And if you uh, and for to see how the new management potentially influences the future of the DCEU, you should look up into what the changes were. Most of the changes were the were associated with the role of the Flash, Ezra Miller's Flash especially, within this movie, The Flash 2023. In the original version, there is a montage right at the start of the movie where the Flash has to decide where to go, which missions to take. And in the movie, in either version of the script, goes into this hospital and saves a couple of babies and some people, you know, while the hospital is collapsing. Now, in the original version, all the members of the Justice League are begging for the Flash, begging for Ezra Miller to show up and partake in their mission. Superman has some erupting volcano, Wonder Woman has a mission, Batman has his own thing, and so what to do with all this? And in the final version, in the cinematic version, the final version of the script, Flash wants to go on this mission instead. And everyone says, "Oh, thank you, we are fine without you. We solved this, we are good. Find something else to do." And that's an entirely new thing. Flash is negligible, according to the new management. Ezra Miller is negligible. He is the weakest part of the Justice League. And he goes into this collapsing hospital, and yes, he's fast, and the only thing he can do is save some babies and some nurse, but he can't prevent the collapse of the hospital. Superman could have done it, could have stood there in place of the collapsing pillar and just hold it in place until someone arrives and brings some replacement. Superman could have done that. So Flash is really just the weakest link. So then Flash goes on all this adventure in the past, changing the multiverse, because, and this is a renewal of the time traveling concept, that if you travel into the past and change even the minute thing, the whole of the past and future, not just the future, but even the most distant past, can and will change because of this new science, this new quantum theory implemented into the time travel concept. And this is an exciting thing. You should celebrate this new sci-fi concept and how this influences the whole thing of the DCEU universe, the main part of the universe. Well, Ezra Miller, and this is a huge spoiler, but at this point obviously no one cares, or, you know, I must make the point. Ezra Miller travels into the multiverse. He has this motivation to rescue his father, who is accused murdering his mother, and there is he can make an evidence in the past that it wasn't the father who made this. It is not even an option to reveal who the killer was. Uh, that's an all different story. You don't bother with it because that's not part of the motivation. The motivation is to bring out father from the jail, and he does that. And seemingly, in a way, that nothing else changed in the universe. So he's fine with that. He's ready to stay. He, Ezra Miller's flash, is at the end of his journey, end of his character motivation. The world did not change in a way he does not like. He solved his motivation of reuniting with his father, and then comes Batman. And Batman is George Clooney. So nothing else changed in that universe, but the actor who is playing Batman. And that is George Clooney. And why that is important? It is important because for the majority of this movie, the Batman is Michael Keaton. Why is that important? Because both Michael Keaton and George Clooney played Batman. And there is Ben Affleck, who played Batman. We do not have in this movie Pattinson's Batman, but you know that's a much younger Batman, so that would have been problematic bringing in. But I hope he will get more movies because that movie was great and he was good in it. Now, what other Batmans or Supermans or whatever are in this? Well, that is the poor CGI part comes in. They had to, you know, restrict the budget just like for the Snyder Cut because Warner Brothers had a lot of flops nowadays before the new management, if I may say so. I must emphasize it because, you know, we must give Warner a chance because they are making good movies nowadays. They have the potential making good movies because they did make Wonder Woman, they did make Aquaman, they did make Shazam, the first one, they did make good movies, or at least to a moderate success at least. So they show you that they don't just have Ben Affleck's Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, you know, I'm sorry. Henry Cavill as Superman, but they even have the 1950s version of these characters if they want. They have Nicolas Cage Superman. That's so cool, and I can understand what they were going for these globes. Hollywood was represented with these shining globes, and the visuals were implementing to show these things are like on a tube TV. It resembles that, not like the modern monitors, the flat monitors. It's like the tube TVs. It was nice. I understood the reference. So Warner Brothers, with the pure CGI part, wanted to show the assets, and you should appreciate it. They are at a point of renewal, so try to pay attention what is happening with this franchise, the DCEU, to start with. So why did we don't have the Nolan's Batman trilogy, that guy? Well, he announced that he's retiring. Christian Bale announced he's retiring, so they couldn't have him. So that's about that. And that was the moody Batman. And I bet they didn't really want to bring back the moody Batman. They wanted a more superhero franchise. What was Marvel's Phase 1, 2, 3? And that's why they hired Mr. Gunn and his cohorts to refresh the DCEU, which started on a more melancholic, more dark origins. So they brought in new guys, and this one might work out. I like whoever committed that atrocious original cut of the Justice League. That was horrendous. Um, that Joss Whedon guy, that guy's an insane flop. You shouldn't trust him with anything nowadays. He did the Firefly, if I'm correct, and his concept was, and what if the Confederate were in space? So he's fucking Donald Trump. Why would you trust anything to him? It's beyond me, and he just makes everything worse. So I say, when you think about the long term, because if you just look at the box office, yes, it was an expensive flop, but it was a necessary flop if you want a future DCEU. If you want a future for the DCEU, because The Flash is a Justice League movie, for the main point. And the point that at the very end is Ezra Miller's Flash's motivation is filled, and the only thing that was changed is the actor who plays Batman shows that they can just get rid of Ezra Miller. They can just recast the Flash. They can keep the Flash and just recast him. And considering it, will they bring back Michael Keaton again? No! That's the movie tells you that's a definite point, and there can't happen another fiasco like for Harrison Ford. That guy destroyed 2 franchises by his presence. He's 80, he can't do anything. His demands just ruining the films, which were already terrible. And this is prevented here. Michael Keaton is dead. He can't come back. And the last point I want to bring up because of all this culture war thing. Sasha Calle. Sasha Calle, she can be the new Supergirl because in the comics, Supergirl or someone of that function, it's keeping the family business, moving on. Point is, black-haired Supergirl exists in the comic book, not for a great part, but she exists. So, and all these multiverse things constantly bugging up can exist. And do we want a blonde-haired Supergirl again? The movie ages ago flopped. The blonde-haired Supergirl series flopped. Do you don't really have a case for a new blonde Supergirl? So why not make an overhaul and make the black-haired Supergirl? Especially if we have such an actress. She played fine and she's interesting to look at. So you can build a series about her. And you know what? The movie made it that she can be recast if things don't turn out for her favor. But even the insane right-wing reviewers acknowledges her in this role. That she was fine, she was not blonde. The right-wing might not like this movie, but she was good. So this at the very least should not impact her career if on the negative way, should impact in the positive way, or at the bare minimum as neutral. So she should be good. That tells me that she can be built upon. And you know what I bet? Because in the movie she dies, and the whole time traveling thing is included in that. Doesn't so she can be permanently dead, but she can be brought back. And you know what I think the deciding factor will be? Merchandise. Yes, there is a special limited edition Barbie on her name. Yes, the Flash 2023 even has a line in it that cross promotes the Barbie movie. Yes, and I appreciated it. I had a laugh with it. And I think that kind of merchandising will determine Sashika's future as Supergirl. So pay attention.